Hello guys, how are we? It's KG Gaming here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today we're just going to be going over some of my thoughts over the sort of second week of testing for the new Vocation Rebalance that's coming out. So we're just going to start with Knight straight away. The front sweep is now incredibly powerful. Once you get to level 100 as well, you get this 40% extra base power, which takes it up to 112, I believe. Just for context, Exori Gran is, I think, 92 or 93. So it's actually around sort of 10, 12% more powerful now than Exori Gran. And then if you want to invest a lot of points into it, you can increase the shape of it as well, which is really cool. For me, this is really, really good. I think it now almost gets rid of Exori Mass. I think you'll now go back to the old style rotation of Exori Gran, Exori Min. I think the only time that you'll really use Exori Mass now is when you're lower level, and maybe when you're sort of high level in high level team hunts when you've got a lot of charms unlocked on a lot of monsters and you need the Exori Mass for the charm proc. So I think that's the only time you'll use it now. For Knights now, I think a low level rotation up to level 70 now will be using one-handed weapons. So you can go Exori Mass, Shield Slam, and then mix in another spell if you need to. Then when you get to level 70, I think you'll go Exori Min, Exori Mass, probably Shield Slam. You'll probably have 4 spells in your rotation there, or maybe just get rid of the Exori Mass. Then when you get to level 90, I think what you'll do is you'll switch back to a two-handed weapon. A lot of the places you're hunting at that level, you're not really in any danger of dying, so you don't need to be wearing a shield, or you don't need the shield spell where it takes away 50% of the next auto attack from the monsters. So you'll go back to using a two-handed weapon with 3 imbuement slots, and your rotation will just become Exori Gran, Exori Min. It's so powerful. Because it's so powerful, you're now leeching so much as well. So it's really, really good. This is a really lovely change. I don't know if this will be nerfed. I think what they might do is maybe lower this to 30% because it is very, very powerful now. So I do expect when the next round of testing happens, I do think this will be nerfed slightly. The other thing with Knights that changed was the ranged etc. It wasn't like a chained spell anymore. It was just covers a big area. It wasn't very good. It needs to be changed. It either needs to be a much, much bigger area, in which case I think it might be a bit overpowered, or it just needs to go back to what it was before, the chained style spell, but it maybe hits more creatures, or it can hit invisible creatures or something like that, because the way that it's working currently, it's just not very nice. It's quite clunky. I think it's quite outdated. I like the idea of it just having a massive area that it affects, but it needs to be bigger if that's the way they want to go. So moving on to Paladins now. Unfortunately, Paladin players, you have been nerfed ever so slightly. They've reduced the base damage by 15%, and they've turned it into a will augment. You now have to invest quite a lot of points to get it back to what it was before. It didn't really seem too bad. I mean, it's only a lower level, so it's probably a bit different. It still felt okay, in my opinion. I would quite like for them to change how you can cast the barrage spell. So at the moment you do it on target, and if there isn't a target, then it just goes around you. That's really nice. It works really well. I'd quite like them to change it as well so that you can use it on cursor position like you can with the runes and Death Echo now. I think that would be quite cool, so you can actually decide where it goes. That would really increase the XP, and I think it would increase the usability of it, and it would make it feel quite nice to use as well. But the damage reduction, I didn't obviously notice a difference, but it didn't really seem too bad to me, to be honest. I think Paladins at the moment are in quite a good place, and I'd be very surprised now if they change anything when it comes to Paladins. I know they've been nerfed at a really, really high level, sort of if you're a level 1000 plus Paladin. I know you're annoyed because I know that you have had a bit of a nerf, but it was always coming. Paladins were far too powerful anyway. They've changed the Divine Grenade, how that targets, which is great. That's also now much usable. Moving on to Sorcerers now. this has been really, really lovely the way they've changed sorcerers. Actually, with the Death Echo, you can now use it on cursor position, and it's now become a staple in a sorcerer's rotation. So if you're either using a fire rotation or a death rotation, if you're in fire stance now, you'll just go Great Fire Wave, Death Echo, Great Fire Wave, Death Echo. Same again if you're in a death stance, you'll just use Death Echo, Great Fire Wave, Death Echo, Great Fire Wave. If you're in the energy stance, it's a little bit different. You're going to have to use the Energy Wave, Death Echo, Energy Beam, Death Echo. So you're cutting out Great Fire Wave, which is a bit of a shame because that's a really great spell, but I think that's the best way it seemed to work. Sorcerers now feel really comfortable. Before they just felt quite clunky. It just didn't feel right. Whereas like with this now, with how they changed Death Echo, it feels really, really good. And sorcerers to me now feel in a really good place. They wanted to move away from the rune casting and they wanted sorcerers to be more of a wave casting vocation. They've definitely done that now. It works really well. With this change, I can now see a lot of people starting sorcerers when this new vocation rebalance comes out now. It remains to be seen, obviously, if they change anything. There's another week to go of testing, but at the moment, it feels really, really good. They didn't feel too overpowered. It didn't feel like it was going to break the game. It actually felt quite nice. It feels like Sip have actually got this vocation quite well here. Going to skip past Druids for a second, just going to move on to Monks. Again, I'm not a Monk player. I've never played them. I know there's quite a few people that are quite upset that Monks haven't really received any new changes. You know, Knights have received all these new things, Paladins and Druids and Sorcerers. The thing is, the Monk's only a year old. You know, they're a pretty up-to-date vocation as it is anyway. There's not really that much to change. Again, because I don't play them that much, I haven't tested him at all. Go over to Kuznir. He's one of the best Monk players out there, if not the best. Just check out his content. He's everything you need to know about a Monk. It's on there. So, moving on to Druids. Again, not great news if you're a Druid solo player, in my opinion. These fork spells, so positives first, they actually work quite well. They feel quite nice to use, and the damage is actually okay. It's just, you're still using runes in a Druid vocation. It just doesn't feel right still with Druids. You have to invest so many points into the wheel in order to get both of them down to a 4-second cooldown so you can use both of them in a rotation and nothing else. But it's earth and ice. You know, what spawns can you use that in other than Gazer Spectres? You know, there's not many places where you can actually use both these elements. I don't really know where they can go with a Druid, but they need to go somewhere with it. Something else needs to be added. I put a suggestion in that, you know, sorcerers have got these 3 new stances: fire, energy, and death. Why can't Druid have stances as well with earth, ice, and I've mentioned physical? I would add a few physical spells in for a Druid, so a forked physical spell, and maybe add a physical wave or something like that, just to give Druids something in a rotation, because at the moment, you know, okay, they've lowered the level requirements, but it's still level 90 and level 80. That's still quite high compared to the other vocations spells. You know, you're still having to use Fort Glacier, Fort Thorns, and then a rune as well. You can't use both of them in a rotation still. You're still having to use runes, and they've nerfed runes. So it just feels like that, you know, Druids are the only one that need more work when it comes to solo play. In team hunts, they're great. Their healing capabilities are amazing, and I still think Druids are quite vital in high-level team hunts. And even low-level Druids with EKs and stuff, I still think they're needed. But in terms of solo play, and if you want to play a Druid solo, I don't see why you would at the moment, unless, of course, you want to give yourself a challenge. There's just, I understand, like I said in the first video, I understand that they can't make Druids too good at solo play, because then they'd both be irreplaceable in team hunts and also amazing in solo play. I get it, but they still need something. But I generally don't know what they could do with a Druid here. I think a lot of the changes going into the 3rd week of testing is going to be around Druids. I think they're going to try and do something here, because there's just, there's nothing exciting about a druid at the moment, and the fact that you have to invest so many points to bring the ice one down to 2 seconds, it's just, yeah, it's every other vocation at the moment to me feels like it can be released into game and it wouldn't be too broken. Knights need to change the ranged etc spell, that's what they need to do. But everything else, all the other vocations, I think feel great. It's just druids solo playing. The one thing they were saying about this vocation rebalance is they wanted mages to be better at high level solo play, and they haven't done that here in my opinion for druids. So they definitely need to change something there, but remains to be seen what they do. But that's all for today, guys. Just going over a few changes. Again, Knights come off really well at this rebalance. I hope they don't change too much, and I hope they don't nerf them. But I do think they will nerf the Exori Min. It just feels quite powerful. Paladins, I think they're in a great place now. I wouldn't really change too much. The only thing I probably would change is the less diamond arrows. Are they sharpshooter arrows or whatever they were? I would make the area of effect the same as the diamond arrow. Because at the moment you may as well just still use burst arrows. There's not much point in using these new arrows here. So I'd like for them to change that. Sorcerers feel really, really great. I hope they don't change anything. I'm actually quite excited to play Sorcerer now, I do have to say. But remains to be seen if they do change anything or not. Monks, again, quite a new vocation, so there wasn't a lot they needed to change. Druids really need to do some more works it. But other than that, everything else feels quite great. So guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.